bringing you key insights, tips, and advice from the brightest minds in the Canadian franchise industry. This is the Franchise Canada Chats podcast. I'm Angela Coté, your host of the Franchise Canada Chats podcast, where we take you into the world of franchising. Our interviews are with franchisees, franchisors, and industry leaders who give on-the-pulse expert advice and share their franchising insights and experiences. Hello, Angela Coté here, and I am excited to bring you Conny Millard, owner of PowerPods, and Kelly Gould, franchisee of Barkbusters in Windsor, Chatham. We're here today to talk about brain-based coaching for franchisees. I have to confess, I'm stoked about this conversation because I wholeheartedly myself believe so much in the concept of coaching in business, and this brain-based coaching that you do, Conny, sounds very interesting. So I'm excited to learn more. Welcome, Conny and Kelly.
Yeah, thank you for having us here, Angela. It's wonderful to be here.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to get into this. And I'm curious, are you going to be secretly assessing me today, Conny, like checking my IQ or anything like that?
Now that would be telling.
Yeah, I know. We won't do that. Okay, good. Because I didn't study or anything. So, all right. So just for context for the audience, I just will give a little bit of my background. And my mission is to help franchisors and franchisees optimize performance and profitability by ensuring that they've got the right franchisees brought onto the team and ensuring that they've got the best support and coaching to hit their goals and become raving fans. So again, you can see why I'm excited about this, Conny. My background comes from my upbringing with the family business M&M Food Market. My dad is the founder. Over the years, we grew to almost 500 locations. And so I have done many different things in the business, including working as a young, female boss's daughter in the field, supporting franchisees, as well as having my own stores for about 18 years. So that's just for context for everybody here. I'm a huge fan of the CFA, so big shout out to the CFA for all the work that they do to educate and really advocate for the franchise model. All right. I am really looking forward to hearing your stories. So are you ladies ready to get rolling?
Let's do it.
Okay, we'll start with Conny. So Conny, for context, as I said, I'm a big believer in giving, for coaching and giving franchisees the support, all the support we can to help them be successful. So if you could tell us a little bit about PowerPods, the concept, and then how you help franchisees and franchisors, that would be great.
Yeah, thank you. And Angela, obviously you bring the industry knowledge that we are trying to gain right now. We came together because we saw a need in the market. And basically my background, just very briefly, I come from a corporate environment. I was in sales and marketing for many years, and then I became a consultant first, and I became a reluctant coach. I'm a brain-based coach now, but I was more reluctant around coaching. I thought it was a bit fluffy. It wasn't really for me. And so I really liked the consultant kind of thing. However, what we would come up against, and often we would also work with franchise systems and franchisees during our consulting years, and we would find that there would be these proven models, wonderful plans, everybody's ready to roll, everybody's in it, and something would get in the way of peak performance. And it would not be because they didn't have the support or didn't have the training or didn't know, what they needed to do. They just simply couldn't do it. And so it was that got us really curious about what is getting in the way of people making the most out of their investment into this. Right? These investments are not taken lightly. And so we sort of found that there was this huge discrepancy between, underperformers, middle of the pack, and then I'm saying middle of the pack, Kelly, just for you, middle of the pack, and then sort of the top of the pack. And that's where we sort of came and brought the brain-based side of things into this space. And what we're finding is it changes everything. And it doesn't matter where you are right now in terms of your performance. It just changes everything because we're we're unlocking. I know it sounds very cliche, but we're unlocking the potential of the mind, that's the only thing that differentiates one franchisee from another. And so we're doing that through, we underpin it with technology. And we do what we call evidence-based coaching, which means you have the ability to track the impact financially and in terms of your culture in your franchise system. And last but not least, we also realized we needed to integrate into the franchise system rather than become sort of this, external something. We really integrate and we align ourselves and become that extension by adopting the terminologies, the plans, the direction. So we're working in harmony with. And so that's what has made us very sticky with the people that we're working with. We now have just phenomenal coaches that are trained very specifically, and we get into that in a bit later, but very uniquely and very specifically. And so we have some very unique approaches to how we unlock this peak performance.
Oh, I love it. You said so many good things there that I want to circle back on. I'm not going to go too far yet because we'll do that as we go. I just love that you brought up the point of coaching being, you thought it was fluffy. And then, you even acknowledged that, unlocking the potential might sound cliche or whatever, but I've seen this myself in various types of coaching. So I'm a believer in it. And that's why I think this is a really fascinating way to do things. And I think it makes so much sense integrating into the system. I really love it. So I'm going to dig deeper with you as we go here. But Kelly, you've been sitting there so patiently, and we are wondering your story. So let's get your story. Can you tell us a bit, starting with the BarkBusters franchise concept?
So BarkBusters actually started over 30 years ago. Our founders, Danny and Sylvia, they each have their own story. But where it really came about was Sylvia worked in an RSPCA, and she was tired of seeing dogs getting euthanized because people would surrender them for untrainable behaviors. So she started working with some of these people to try to save some of these dogs, and it works. Basically, what our system does is it copies what dogs do. It was watching how dogs communicate with each other and what pack law is about, and we start to teach people about that pack law, how to communicate with their dog. And when they understand, they learn so much faster. So we were able to save a lot of dogs. Well, they were able to save a lot of dogs, and they started to teach other people how to do this. The goal was to save as many dogs as we can. So all of our behavior therapists are trained the same way. And the mission really is save dogs, stop them from being euthanized, have happy, healthy relationships with your dog.
Wow, that's so powerful. And I love how you explain that it's like, let's meet them where they're at, it sounds like, rather than trying to, you hear people with their dog and they're like, if you keep doing that, I'm going to put you outside.
Right. And they don't get it. That was one of the things that really drew me to BarkBusters. It was the comprehensive approach it took. I mean, I worked with a lot of trainers myself with my own dogs prior to using BarkBusters. And I found, while I think there's value to a lot of styles of training, it wasn't tackling the issue. I found a lot of it was almost a Band-Aid solution, right? Whereas BarkBusters, they look at the whole picture, right? Why is your dog behaving the way you're doing? So if you want your dog to stop barking, I mean, it's really easy to put a little shock collar on them and shock them. Oh, yeah, of course they're not going to bark now. It hurts to bark. I want to know why are they barking? Are they barking because they're afraid? Are they barking because they're feeling unsafe? Are they barking because they're excited? So if we get to the root cause, then we can treat the whole dog and stop it at the source. So I liked the holistic approach for BarkBusters.
That's so fascinating. I think I can see the alignment between the two of you and myself, I guess, in that, when we go in to help people with something, it's like, what's the actual reason, as opposed to the Band-Aid solution. So I'm feeling like that's a good theme here for us. I'd like to, Kelly, just understand a little bit more. So I understand that why it sounds like an amazing concept and you had a personal connection. A lot of people, a common question that we hear when people are thinking of becoming a franchisee is like, how do I know what brand to invest in or, who to join forces with? And so were you looking for a franchise, or did you love the concept and then it hit you that, hey, I could be a franchisee of this? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of background on me. I have a psych degree and a degree in education, and the goal was to be a primary junior teacher. In this area, it's just very difficult to get into the school boards. So I was waitressing, and it never once crossed my mind to be a dog trainer. If anything, I was looking to be a restaurant owner because I was so familiar with, right? But I fell into it because I hired trainers for my dog. So I have a King Shepherd named Charlie, and it didn't make sense to me at the time. It does now. When my husky passed away, the very next day, she was a completely different dog. She was terrified of the world. She wouldn't go outside. If I did get her outside and somebody closed a door, her fight or flight would kick in and she'd bolt. And she ended up getting me hit by a car because, right? It makes sense to me now. She lost her leader, and pack law states, if your leader is injured, you step up. So she stepped up and she did what she thought she had to keep her pack safe. So I had to learn how to be that leader for her. And I hired other trainers, and we just didn't get very big results. Small, but not a lot. It wasn't until I worked with Barkbusters that I started to see some significant changes in her, and I started to see her relax and feel safe. And even then, it never crossed my mind, I want to do this for other people. But my trainer was retiring, and he told me that the franchise would be up for sale, and he thought I was a good fit for it. And that's where it hit me. I'm like, wait, I can help other people and other dogs the way that this has helped me. And it's given, a lot of people would have given up on my dog. I had multiple people tell me I should euthanize my dog because there's something wrong with her. And I am so happy I didn't. I have the best bond with her. She's my soul dog. But the idea of being able to do this for other people was phenomenal to me. So that's the first time I thought, buy a franchise. But yeah, it wasn't something that really crossed my mind before then.
That's awesome. And I didn't realize we were going to get so emotional. I'm in tears. I'm like with happiness and yeah, wow, this is incredible. And so this, yeah, and this is fairly common, again, for anybody that's listening, that some people go shopping for a franchise and they go to a trade show, or they like a CFA show, and they go, okay, what are the opportunities? And then they look at that, and then other people sort of stumble upon it like you did. And thank goodness for that retiring owner who or trainer, sorry, that let you know that the business is up for sale. So I think that's a great little nugget for anybody that's listening, especially like look at your life then to now. Like you were waitressing, and I'm sure that was great, but now you're really tapping into your purpose. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Sorry, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say this is my purpose, and I didn't realize it until I really dove into it and had the opportunity. I sleep very well at night knowing that I have potentially saved an unknown number of dogs from, the same fate that people wanted for my shepherd.
Yeah, and there's a lot of just another thing I think a lot of people don't realize in franchise, like when you're buying a franchise, is there's a big range of opportunities out there that are there's lower investment, middle, and there's higher. So a lot of people just they instantly think I can't do this, and they don't think they have the skills. Well, the whole idea is that you get the support and that's so that you can be a business owner that you never even thought to be. So. I love it. I love this story. So Conny, I think I'm going to kind of change gears a little bit here. I'd like to understand a little bit more what brain coaching actually is, because I'm going to be fully honest with you. Like I looked at your website and it's beautiful, and I definitely believe in what you're doing. You've got some amazing testimonials, but like what goes through my head is like I'm gonna come to your like clinic and you're gonna put stickers on my head and you're going to hook me up to a bunch of wires and it's going to be zapping my brain. I'm pretty sure that's probably not what it is. So could you talk about the process a little bit before we go any further?
Sure, absolutely. And I mean, first of all, what better way? Maybe Kelly should really answer this question. Did we hook you up to anything? Did we zap you with anything? Brainwash anybody? No, but that's a really good, valid question. And I think this is what keeps on coming up, because people are like, are you messing with me or with my mind? And, I don't really want you to go there, kind of situation. So we don't. Of course we can't. But I suppose first of all, I should say that not all coaching is the same. First of all, we're using the verbiage of coaching very loosely, very often. But coaching is a profession, especially if you use it professionally. So that means you're trained and accredited in a certain way. So our coaches are trained and accredited in brain-based coaching, which is a very unique way that has only ever been made available to corporates in the past. So it has never really found itself into the entrepreneurial space, and most certainly not into the franchise space. And then our coaches are also International Coaching Federation accredited, which is basically our governing body, just like the CFA is the governing body for our industry. This is the governing body for coaches. And that means we have to adhere by codes of ethics. We have to continue to train. We have to be on top of our game. And so we're bringing sort of this brain-based approach, which is all about peak performance. It's about goal pursuit. That's a very unique methodology. We all know about SMART goals and things like that, but there's some very fundamental neuroscientific things missing why they are not working the way that we, again, think that they should be working. So that's just a little bit about, the background of our expertise, perhaps. And then PowerPods coaches very specifically also have to have a certain number of coaching hours, which means they have a certain level of seniority, and they have to have the background in entrepreneurship. So we're sort of coupling all of that. However, we're not industry experts like you, Angela. We come, and that makes even better coaching, because we maintain curiosity about what's possible, right? We don't already come with a fortified idea of how it should be. And so I was mentioning earlier that, and you probably see this. I mean, I'd be curious to hear what you make of this. But you probably are sometimes curious about, you bring people into a franchise system and the potential is there, the passion is there. Like Kelly was saying, the purpose is there, like everything is lined up, and then something happens and they're not really performing the way that you think they're going to be performing. And that's where we sort of step in. We sort of help to, and that's not just with sort of the middle of the pack or the lower tier. This also happens to peak performance, top producing kind of individuals who can also fall down the ladder. And that has nothing to do with the franchise system. Often it has something to do with themselves and what goes on in their minds and their perspectives and their belief systems and past experiences, cultural influences. All of those things is how it shapes the way that we see the world. And our belief system can be very, very powerful. Our habits can get in the way. Sort of these old rooted habits that kind of sabotage us can get in the way. So the way that we approach it is we have sort of we've internally developed the neuroscientific developmental stages of coaching. And so the first thing we do, when you first come in, and Kelly, you need to verify this here momentarily, but one of the first things we just do is we just kind of get to obviously to know the individual, and we build trust and rapport very deeply. That's what makes it also unique too, versus training internally or coaching internally. We coach holistically the whole human. We don't just coach for the business, although that's where we want to have main impact, because that is how we get paid. So if we don't show impact, we don't have contracts and things like that, then you can kick us out. We don't hang around. So the first thing we want to do is just look at, okay, well, where are things at for you? And so we're meeting the individual where they're at. So either they're already a peak performer, or they're middle of the pack, or they may have already flunked out of the system and they kind of, become cynical about it. And they're just like, I just want to leave, which is very expensive for the system and for the individual as well. So it can be a very traumatic experience. So sometimes we come in as an intervention like that. But more often than not, it's like, have these people, I know there is more in them. How do we get that out? And so we start off with just removing any roadblocks that are happening right away. That could be personal, professional, mindset, belief systems. And that can take sort of up to, believe it or not, that can take up to 3 months.
We hope you're enjoying this episode so far. Did you know that Franchise Canada has a newsletter sent twice a month that's packed full of fresh franchise opportunities? With Franchise Canada e-news, you get new content from Franchise Canada magazine, franchisee success stories, industry news about CFA members, educational videos all about franchising, and you can keep up to date on the newest episodes of the Franchise Canada Chats podcast that you're listening to right now. Plus, by subscribing to Franchise Canada e-news, you get a free subscription to Franchise Canada magazine. Subscribe now at franchisecanada.online. Now, back to the podcast episode you are enjoying.
And then it's about, also looking at the habits. What kind of habits do you have? What kind of routines do you run? What goes on in the mind? So we have some tools and ways of getting to that fairly quickly. Whereas, maybe if you were to coach without those tools, it might take you years to get to the bottom. Like if you had therapy, it can take years and years and years to get to something. So we can get to that kind of stuff fairly quickly. And then the next step is we get into the goal pursuit. And so the goal pursuit gets very, very, it's very exciting. It kind of creates a lot of energy and a lot of motivation. And it has to come from within. This is not something where you can say, oh, you need to accomplish this. Okay, let me go and do that for you. It becomes no longer a chore, but it becomes this intrinsic, that's why I'm doing this. This is what I need. And off I go. So we have a very unique way of doing that. And that kind of unleashes the beast a little bit. And it's really nice because what you'll then see is, so the next stage after that is sort of, that's kind of the getting going, the goal pursuit side of things. And then we integrate. And as we start to integrate, now we're creating new habits, new belief systems. And again, Kelly might be able to speak to that too, but you think this is possible, right? We have sort of this threshold of possibility of how far can I go? And we get you past that and then some. And so you constantly have these new horizons. So not only do you accelerate once, you accelerate continuously over and above and beyond what you thought was ever possible. So yes, we're going to go and heal some old wounds and old stuff. We're not therapists, but we might tinker into that. But we do it through coaching practices. And so that's what makes it very quick and very efficient. And then we kind of harmonize the individual within themselves, which tends to be wonderful. And then you see that coming out as peak performance. And then we get into maintenance stage. So once, and this is what makes it very sticky, like every single client we started with all those years ago is still with us. I think in all of this time, we've lost one client, and that client is just off and off and off. And she's just like, Conny, I'm taking a break. Fine. But often people come back. So this maintenance stage then is this reassessing, like, am I still going in the right direction? And so that's kind of how we go about it. But there is no electricity involved in making any changes.
There's no zapping. Okay. Well, and I think so that's fantastic. So what I'm going to overly simplify, I'm sure here, but what I'm understanding is it's working through, like, a session is a conversation. It's probably a lot of questions, and so you're sitting down with you call them coaches? Yeah, of course you do, because they're certified. For a minute there, I was thinking trainer, but no, that's dog training. Switching the two of you. That's Kelly. Yeah. But so you're sitting down and you're uncovering things, and I totally understand this, because the importance of this, and when people hire us, we work mostly with franchisors. They hire us and they want this. I'm sure you battle this too, Conny, but they want this tangible, tactical advice. Tell me how to do this, and what do I do? And we start working with them, and like 9 times out of 10 within a short period of time, we realize what's really slowing you down is that you have limiting beliefs, you have self-doubt, or you're a people pleaser, or you are you're controlling because you're afraid that often leaders think that I have to do everything or else people don't think I'm a good leader. And, we uncover those things. So I love the work you're doing. I think it's Fantastic.
Yes.
Kelly, maybe I'll just get you to speak to like what maybe what have you experienced in the sessions? What have maybe been some of the breakthroughs or biggest wins that you've had in your sessions with Conny?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to start, it was nothing like I expected it to be. I think it's overwhelming when you get a franchise. Maybe I'm speaking for dog training, but I imagine it's the same for a lot of different types of franchises. You're overwhelmed with the number of things you have to learn. I had to learn to be a trainer. I had to learn how to manage a business. I had to learn how to do phone sales, how to market myself, how to organize. I didn't know how to file, right? I'm like, I don't know how do I set my filing system up? How do I set up? Nope. It's overwhelming. So I went into coaching. I kind of thought it was going to be more of that. We're going to help you file, and we're going to help you learn how to time manage. And I'm like, and she did all of those things. But I think what surprised me was she really dove into me, right? What are my roadblocks? What are the things about you that make you struggle with this? I had a lot of fear when I started. I was terrified of almost everything. 2 years ago, there's no way you would have got me to do a podcast. I was terrified of being in front of camera. I was terrified of saying something and sounding stupid and not having the answer. Conny, and I imagine the rest of the coaches as well, they really push you to be uncomfortable. And I was one of those people. Give me the answers. You tell me, give me the map. Just give me the roadmap. I'll follow it and I'll get there. She doesn't let you get away with that. And that's where I think the neurocoaching comes in. It's what is preventing you from doing the things that you want to do. I learned a lot about myself, and I think that really surprised me. Even simple things like she helped me to become a better trainer, even though I'm technically a trainer. The reality is I'm a coach as well. I have to coach my client to help that dog. So when you're trying to help a dog, you're telling people, I was doing that, give them the roadmap. And they weren't following it. And I didn't know why, but I would get frustrated. It's like, just do what I tell you to do and your dog will get better. But Conny did the same thing that I now do to my clients. What's stopping you? What is, right? When you get frustrated, why are you getting frustrated? So you really dive into a lot of even I know Conny dug up some huge emotional traumas for me. And they were things that you wouldn't think that were impacting your ability to get through to people or to coach somebody or to get over your own roadblocks and right. But yeah, a lot of that brain-based coaching is getting to the root of those issues. Like, why are you struggling here? How do we help you get past it? And she did. She put me in a lot of tough situations where she'd ask me questions and I'm like, I don't know the answer. Tell me. She won't tell you the answer. She'll make you give it. So yeah, it was definitely surprising, but I've grown a lot as a trainer because of it. And I think I've grown a lot as a human. I've learned to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
And that's what business growth is all about, right? Like getting in there and again, people think like you say, it's just there's this roadmap but there's these other issues that are stopping you. And for anybody that's listening, not on video, just on audio, we were all smiling. Well, Conny and I were smiling when Kelly was saying, it's like, can't you just do it? Well, franchisors feel that way all the time with franchisees that they come in and they're like, I'm giving you the answers, just do it and you'll make money or whatever your goal is, and but it's the psychology of it. We gotta get there. So that's really amazing. Conny, let's stay on this theme of success stories for a minute. Can you, that's right here in front of me is an amazing success story, just hearing Kelly's story. Is there any data that you can provide to say like growth, you've seen franchisees grow, 30% or what, I shouldn't put a number out there. I just made that one up, but some kind of a growth record that you've seen.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay. And if it's okay with you, Angela, I just want to pick something up that Kelly said here, because I think, so first things first, I encourage Kelly to brag shamelessly, and I'm going to brag on her behalf. So she, we work with a whole number of different systems. We don't specialize in any kind of area, and not every franchisee is as coachable as Kelly. Kelly is definitely, there is, coachability. which means you have to have a growth mindset. You have to want to learn. You have to want to, maybe challenge yourself, and you have to really want to succeed and recognize that you're getting in your own way here, or something is getting in your way, and you're willing to really look at what is getting in the way. So Kelly sort of did that straight out of the gate. And we started working with Kelly the moment she came into the system. So her franchisor had actually said, here are a couple of my new franchisees, Conny, go do your best. And so that's what we did. And so we have this data, going back to what you were just saying, how quickly can we get somebody to become a top producer in the system? So Kelly is competitive, which helps, right? She wants to be she wants to be at the top. Not everybody wants that, and that's okay too. But Kelly got to near top producer level within 24 months of never having owned her own business, not coming from an entrepreneurial environment, which you need to also learn the entrepreneurial side of things and the skill sets and the shadow sides that you're going to have to deal with a lot. So Kelly managed to do all of that in 2 years. And that is what we're seeing. And that goes back to these developmental stages. That is what we can achieve when somebody comes straight into the franchise system. Because the minute that you're sort of working with somebody who's already, feel a little cynical or feel stuck, you really have to sort of rewrite the script a little bit. With Kelly, it didn't need to be. And so she is a gem to be working with. And so I just want to say that for her to be here today, it is only 24 months. And when she says, it's really challenging for her, the first time we talked about public speaking, she's like, never. I will never do that. And so for her to be here today, I just want to say you're phenomenal and I'm so proud of you. So let's set that aside. But in terms of the data, we track internally. So we have the technology system that underpins it. So we can really sort of see, and the things we track internally are a couple of things. One is to satisfy the franchisor's needs as well as the franchisee's needs to see return on investment financially. And some other KPIs that the system sets. So we report back on those KPIs and we work towards improving those. And then we have the interpersonal, side of things, that kind of that internal growth. And that happens intrinsically. And that is not something that can be trained, or if you're not trained as a coach, if you don't have that profession, and if you're not trained in brain-based coaching, you're not going to be able to get to those kind of results consistently. Similarly to the psychology that Kelly was saying, is if that doesn't happen intrinsically, Kelly could stop coaching with me today and she'll be a top producer forever. Everything, she might have some things that are happening in her personal life and she might need a little top up, but it's changed her DNA. And you said this earlier. I love the way that you phrased that, because it really is changing the wiring. And when that changes, everything changes, and it changes for good. So what the results are in terms of financials, well, some systems have not been struggling at all. So they're kind of go, we don't really care. We're doing phenomenally well, right? So we can increase 30 to 300%, and we can increase to 300% within a year. So it's really quick, and we measure that, which is unique. Other data perhaps that is useful to perhaps share is the shift in culture. So one of the things that we're often hearing, and especially right now during the pandemic, that seems to be a little bit of a mind-demic in the pandemic, is people feel disconnected and they feel a little meh and a little bit of blah. And, just kind of, what have you done for me lately? And kind of feeling a little bit disenchanted. So we're really helping with this leaning back in, right? This like stop kind of trying to push everything onto the franchisor, take ownership. And, you're personally responsible for opportunities in adversity, and we will help to find those. So we kind of significantly improve the culture. And I just want to share a little story here, if I may. That is a different system altogether, a different set of circumstances altogether. But we had one individual who had not spoken to their franchisor for 4 years. Would not take their call. Like, this is how bad the relationship had gotten, and it really poisons the well. It's not just this one individual that is kind of sort of taken a leave of absence, but it makes everybody else feel like, well, if this person is not seeing the value, like it really poisons the well. And we turned this individual around within 4 coaching sessions. And it basically is, it was really quick. And now they have come back, not only to the table, but they are now back at the top producer. And so now all of a sudden they're this glory child, right? Everything is wonderful. And it is something, it goes back to that, what we were saying. And Angela, I'm sure you see that all the time. It's like, what is making you so frustrated? We need to get to the bottom, to the root cause of the frustration. And we need to really look at that. And so that's what we heal and harmonize and bring people back into the fold. And now you have this power team, right? Everybody together. And then we're bringing everybody up to the best version of what they can be, but they get to choose. It's not the franchisor saying, oh, I need you to be at this level. It's up to the individual to decide, I want to be at this level, and this is what it affords me to do. And that's why I feel motivated to want to be doing it, not just because the franchisor is asking us to do that. So I hope that's kind of answering, some of that. I have some other stories, but I want to make sure that Kelly gets a word in edgeways. So I'll take a bit of a backseat now.
Okay, I just got chills when you told the story of the franchisee that hadn't spoke to the franchisor in 4 years. And in 4 sessions, you were able to get that franchisee turned around and open-minded, and then into eventually the top, as a top performer. That's incredible. I think I'll have to reach out to you to hear more about that one. That is fantastic. Okay, so it sounds like there's lots of evidence of the success of this. And a couple of things were going through my head. I don't want anybody that's thinking of becoming a franchisee listening to this thinking, wow, it sounds really hard to be a franchisee. I think the point is there's all kinds of great support out there. And the idea is the franchisor will support you, but if ideally they'll understand that there's more to it than just handing you an operations manual and a good brand and being there on a hotline support. That there's more to it. And I'm curious, just one more question for you, Conny. Can a franchisee hire you individually, or is it always through the franchisor?
Yeah, I mean, they can hire some of our best franchise systems that we're now working with came via the franchisee, found us, worked with us first. The franchisor noticed such a significant difference in the individual so quickly, and then became curious about it. And then actually said, okay, coach me. They're like, okay, we're putting you to the test. Show me what you've got, And so now the franchisor has stuck with us for the last 3 years, So the thing is, it really is, you have to try it. And because we feel so comfortable about the success rates that we're bringing, we don't tie people in with this contract, So there's no harm in trying. The important thing is that the franchisee is open to it. So the other way around, if a franchisor came and said, you need coaching, now we have a bit of an issue because now you're voluntold to do something, and it really needs to be your own sort of choice. So making it an option. And to your point, actually, Angela, I just wanted to say this. What we've been finding is that franchisors, they want their franchisees to succeed, but they don't want to get into the drama, into the nitty gritty of the weeds of, they need to stay at a business level. And we totally understand that. So for, they have their best intentions. They want everybody to succeed, but sometimes they just really don't have the tools. And that's where the brain-based coaching tools come in. And that's why we just provide that extension. So ideally, if we are having a franchisee coming to us directly, yes, what we will say is we will still need to work in alignment. And we would ideally like you to just let your franchisor know that this is what you're doing. And just, we work under confidentiality, so we will never share anything. Like our sessions are confidential. So it's up to the franchisee to share, but we work in alignment, and we can only work in alignment if the franchisor is aware, and we need to work in the same direction and not alienating anybody or taking them off on a tangent, which is where it can get a little bit dangerous. That's not what we do. So yeah, feel encouraged to reach out. Yeah,
well, that's what I was getting at. I mean, if anybody's feeling discouraged right now, by their lack of growth. And as you know, as much as there are like a lot of amazing franchisors out there, I think there's some that got into it without understanding what they were getting into, and they're struggling themselves. Here's another option for you as a franchisee if you are struggling. And I just want to really emphasize, what I heard, and I fully agree with, is the coachability. And I could feel that from Kelly when she was talking about some of the things that, like, that open-mindedness, and that's where you're going to get the growth, when you're willing to do that. I'm going to go back to Kelly. I know we talked about like unlocking roadblocks, and we talked about you wouldn't have been on a podcast 2 years ago. You wouldn't have done this. Can you give an example, just getting really granular now, a couple, one or two examples of things that kind of got unlocked for you that led to growth, and like what, and or just, you know, what are some of the biggest challenges you faced before that you maybe didn't expect, and now because of this coaching, you've been able to get past?
Yeah. Well, a big one for me, I remember a conversation with Conny, and I was telling her about this one particular client that fell asleep during my lesson. And I was so irritated with this gentleman. I'm like, you hire me to come into your house to help you with your dog, and you have the nerve to just pass out on the couch.
So Kelly, was he thinking that you were just going to train the dog and then leave?
Well, his wife was there, so it was like he just seemed so genuinely disinterested and just laying there like, I don't have a care in the world. And then he fell asleep, and I just kind of stopped, and I'm looking at the wife. I'm like, so do you want me to come back a different day when he's awake, or right? Like, and I was irritated by it. And as soon as I was irritated, I realized I don't even want to be here. I'm just going to spit this out as fast as I can. And like, if you don't care, why should I? And Conny said something to me that kind of shook me to my core. It's not about you. Like, oh, okay. But I'm annoyed, but it's not about you. I'm like, okay. And she helped me to realize that, yes, he fell asleep, but why? Right? Something might have happened. What if you don't know what his life is? So, and I have it, that this little card that I read to myself every day.
Wait, can you read?
Yeah.
Can you read that real quick? Because people that are listening can't see it. So real quick, if you could read through it.
Oh, absolutely. So I have a list of things that I've kind of gathered through my sessions with Conny that I read to myself to remind myself when I'm in these situations, not to get triggered and not to be offended by it and not to stop giving my best. Number one, it's not about me. Number two, don't judge or assume anything. Number three, people are trying their best. Their best might not be the same as my best, but they are trying their best. And always come from a place of compassion and caring. So instead of getting angry and inhibiting my ability to be able to help this dog, when this gentleman fell asleep, maybe is something going on that, you know, maybe now is not the best time.
Jump in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how do you know he didn't just find out that like his mom died a couple of days ago or something, and he's mentally exhausted? So anyway, okay. And then
Yeah, funny you should mention that. It was something similar to that. I had a conversation with the wife at the next session, and he actually came and he apologized to me. He said his best friend had died a couple of days ago, and then something else had happened, and he hadn't been sleeping well. And so here I am getting irritated by this guy, and had I known that, it would have changed entirely how I saw it. So that's why I don't assume anything anymore. And I recognize in these moments where somebody is distracted by their phone, or it's not about me. It really isn't. Yeah. And then two other ones, is this person motivated by love or fear? And that's more how do I motivate the person to do what I need them to do to help the dog? And if you can figure out how they're motivated, are they motivated because they're frustrated? Then I know how to motivate them. If they're motivated because they love their dog, like I wanted the best life for my dog and I didn't want her to get euthanized. That's a really powerful motivator. So, and then the last one, keep the eye out of conversations, stay out of the box. And that was another little tidbit that Conny gave me. Another lesson that I had, this woman was very clearly motivated by love. She was crying hysterically. And I remember having a conversation with Conny about it. And like, I just sat there and I hugged her. And Conny's like, that's very sweet. But how did you help the dog? I'm like, well, I guess I really didn't. So she gave me some very valuable advice. Stay out of the box. It's okay to feel compassion. But if you climb into that box with them, you're no longer helping them. So you kind of have to remove yourself a little bit. And it's little things like that where you start to tell Conny, this is how I felt. And she puts these really intuitive, jarring questions on you, right? Where they're like, you're expecting like, she's going to be on my side. We're going to, I understand how you feel. Isn't that so annoying? But no, she makes you really stop and think. And you're like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. And she makes you answer, why does that bother you? Oh, I don't know why that bothers me. So that's how we kind of hit on some childhood traumas with me, realizing what's motivating me, why I'm getting frustrated by this. And it's directly related to this, right? Like it's brain-based coaching isn't what people think it is. It is, nobody shocked my brain literally. But I mean, figuratively, she kind of did, right? She shocked my brain out of these thought patterns that I get into, and helped me change the way I view things. She changed my perspective on a lot of things. So
this is golden. I totally understand this. I subscribe to it. I believe in it so much. And those were some really, really good examples of things. I think why I wanted to go deeper on that is I know a lot of people think, why does it matter? Like, so what, you got irritated. So, but if you didn't get irritated and you could keep that person as a client as a result and maybe have them for another 6 months or whatever it is, versus you got irritated and they felt that negative energy.
Yeah. May I add to that? Because I know that, the goal here is reach franchisees. As a franchisee, how you respond to something has a direct impact on how successful you are. If your instinct is to get mad, then you're alienating your clients or your customers, and as soon as you alienate them and you get a reputation for that, well, she's difficult to work with. She wants it her way or no way. Well, that directly impacts your numbers. So yeah. Either learn how to meet your client or your customer where they're at, or they're gone. So it does make a difference how you respond to things. And if you can understand why you respond to something the way you respond to something, then you can change it. I told Conny this.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've told Conny this multiple times. I am a far better trainer now, because I'm able to think in the moment when I am getting frustrated. Okay, it's not about you. It's not about you. What is stopping this person from doing what I need them to do? What is, preventing them? What's their roadblock? And if you can get to their roadblock, then I can motivate them. So
So you're not only is there a tangible benefit to you because you can potentially have more clients, better business, all of that, but at the end of the day, you're also just happier and more joyous. I've learned a lot of this myself in the past few years. I've done a lot of work on this through coaches that I've worked with and research and just every day I do work to keep my head screwed on straight because it's so important. And so I love that you gave some like the tangible, but then yet also there's when you're in this mindset of, I can handle it. If somebody throws darts at me, I know how to not let those darts get into me. And life is so good. And then you're more open to you turn it into an opportunity. So that's really incredible. We're going to have to wrap up here because this has been incredible, ladies. I feel like we could definitely go for like 3 more hours, but we're going to have to wrap it up here. So I'm going to thank you both for being here. Amazing insights. Kelly, I'm sure you inspired lots of people to look at the idea of business ownership, maybe look at Bark Busters, which seems like an incredible company. Conny, I'm definitely going to be reaching out to you on the side and asking you about coaching for myself because I really like what you're doing. I think it's amazing. So I think we'll wrap it up here. And thank you, ladies, for your insights today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Angela.
Thanks for listening. For more franchising resources, including how-to articles, expert advice, franchisee success stories, and franchise opportunities, visit franchisecanada.online. Don't forget to subscribe to Franchise Canada e-news while you're there. You can also learn more about franchising at cfa.ca and connect with specific franchise opportunities at lookforafranchise.ca. Now go be awesome.